The Battlefield franchise is known for its gritty realism and attention to militaristic detail. It has been so successful that it won numerous awards including Best Shooter and Best Multiplayer Game. The string of success has led to the newest installment in the Battlefield series, Battlefield 3. Battlefield 3's multiplayer is incredibly expansive, deep, and arguably one of the best. From jeeps to tanks to helicopters to fighter planes, there's not much that can't be driven. With the multiple objective maps and huge team games, there is an added emphasis on teamwork and cooperation in multiplayer matches. If trying to communicate with other squads is too much work, there are also single squad versions of some game modes. If even that's too much work, there's co-op, where two players can go into specially designed games and play specific objectives unique to co-op and unlock weapons and upgrades applicable in multiplayer. The campaign follows the story of Sergeant Henry Blackburn, codenamed Black, as well as Sergeant Jonathan Jono Miller and Lieutenant Jennifer Colby Hawkins. The main storyline follows Black as he recants to two CIA agents what happened while he was in Iran. As each story is told, there's a fade to first-person view, where the player takes control of Black and goes about the mission. After each mission, they return to the interrogation room and more of the current events are revealed. As the story continues, you slowly learn of Russian involvement and that somewhere along the lines you didn't know. Hence, interrogation room. But, as anyone who enjoys Battlefield 3 will say, they play it for the multiplayer, not for the campaign. And it's evident that the designers over at DICE put more emphasis on the multiplayer. The multiplayer objectives provide challenging yet rewarding tests where players are forced to defend or capture specific points, plant and defuse bombs, or simply go around killing each other. Each game mode is specifically designed to favor the team that works best together and organizes pushes. Battlefield 3's large multiplayer game modes and equally large maps create an environment where no single player can carry a team to victory. Given such a huge emphasis on teamwork and squad mates, it would be expected that people in an Xbox Live Party would naturally be put into games where they're in the same squad, right? Unfortunately, that's not always the case. Sometimes, the game will put a member of the Xbox Live Party on the opposing team. The weapon attachments and upgrades as well as weapon choices haven't been altered much from the previous Battlefield installments. New attachments include the flashlight to momentarily blind an assailant and gain the edge in combat, as well as a red laser to shine on opponents and make them feel scared. The lack of changes to weapon feel and attachments isn't a negative mark to Battlefield 3, but more a compliment to the Battlefield series. Time for numbers to appear. Story gets a 2. The interrogation room, introduction of Russians where they don't really need to be, and flashbacks to random locations all feel reminiscent of a certain other big-name first-person shooter that Battlefield was supposed to go beyond the Call of Duty. But not only did they make a lesser copy of the same story, they managed to make a campaign that continually froze on me. Design gets a 6. The on-screen objective markers that change depending on their status are incredibly well designed and simple enough to understand. And the multitude of weapon choices make it possible to adapt to any situation. However, the necessity of a 2GB HD pack as well as subsequent patches already take up too much space on a 4GB Xbox, making the game all but unplayable to people that have one. As well as multiple glitches, frame drops, and general freezing. Gameplay gets a 9. The controls are very intuitive and at no time did I feel like I was struggling to move. All vehicles are fairly intuitive, and after a few failed attempts at lifting off, were incredibly easy to control. Presentation gets a 7.5. The parts of the map that I could see were absolutely astonishing. Unfortunately, the overabundance of lens flares coupled with flashlights constantly shining and adding more lens flares makes it incredibly hard to see. Also, without the HD graphics pack installed, the game looks terrible, harkening back to the previous console generation. Replay value gets a 9.5. The ability to level up weapons, play many game modes with friends, and communicate with teams makes Battlefield 3 a game that I keep coming back to. Altogether, I give Battlefield 3 a final score of 7. Factoring the abysmal excuse of a campaign, Battlefield 3 only delivers half of the game, but can't be patched because it takes up too much space.